Google Earth and find some other spots too. The Indian River is here,
Yep.
and that's supposed to be just a nice creek, nice river to fish.
Have you ever
Is
heard
it
of
Indian or St. John's River? St. John's River. That's the one I'm
St.
thinking.
John's?
Yeah,
Are you near like the Mosquito Lagoon, Indian River, all that stuff, or you are near the St. John's? I'm not.
it's St.
St.
John's.
John's. Okay.
I was hoping it was Indian River, but then I discovered it's St. John's River,
Well, that's
which I've
got.
heard is supposed to be pretty good too.
Yeah, I think all that stuff's so good. There's just so
Yeah,
much water. When I was
right.
driving through Miami this morning, I mean, there's water everywhere. And there's that's
Yeah,
just it's Florida's so cool because if you're not saltwater fishing, you've got incredible bass fishing, and down in South Florida you got peacock bass, and like you'd never have to cancel
I,
a guide
I
day.
that's on my bucket list. Peacock bass.
The
I want to
peacocks,
catch. Oh my God, I want to get one so bad.
they're such
Uh,
cool fish.
yeah, yeah. But there's several fish on my bucket list I haven't gotten yet. But one day we'll get them.
For sure. The peacock's definitely one that needs to be done. It's fun. I got the guy for you if you want to go. I pulled the trigger on it last year when I was coming back from Alamorada, and it was like I got to do this every year. I enjoyed it more than any saltwater fishing. It was cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I carried my son to Alamorada his 21st birthday, and of course the night we were supposed to go, the day we were supposed to go fishing, the night before, record lowest temperatures in Alamorada, 24 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
So we get up, meet with the guide, and it's an older gentleman, and man, we find a few. We wanted to catch snook and some juvenile tarpon, but we saw some in the mangroves, but you could not get them to budge.
Oh
I mean, it
man,
was water had
They were
dropped.
just so cold.
They were, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
27
but
degrees in
we ended up catching a
Alamorada.
bunch of reds, which I didn't want to catch because I'd catch them at home anytime.
Exactly. Like I want snook and tarpon and bonefish and permit, but
Yeah,
as soon as you want that, that's when you're
that's when you get screwed.
exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
But anyway, it's all good. It was an experience and got to feel some tugs.
There you go. All right. Well, we have one more minute, and I'm going to take us live here.
All right.
I've been fighting this dang cold for like 2.5 weeks.
Yeah,
The
everybody that I've
timer
talked to
run?
that's gotten it has said the same thing. It's don't knock them down, but it's aggravating, is what I hear.
Hey,
We might get joined by little Brim here.
I
Oh,
think we are. Let's see here. This whole mute thing is not working out great for us. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Eastern Current. This is episode 33. Let me know if you cannot hear me because this stupid mute situation is. I had it. I was supposed to be muted while we were just sitting there talking, and then I realized it wasn't muted. And as soon as I went live, it muted everything. So if you can hear me now, just comment in the comment section saying, "Hey, everything's working fine." But yeah, this is episode 33. We've got Brian Saunders on tonight. He's from the New Bern area, I believe. Fishes up there around the southern Pamlico Sound area. Super excited. We're going to talk with him about, a focus on striper and speckled trout, but a little bit of everything, and really want to dive into that fishery, and how it fishes year round, as well as, some tips and tricks for this time of year. So pretty
Yeah,
stoked.
I'm excited.
You've,
I feel like every time we've talked about this spot, it's been wintertime fishing there.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like we're getting some warm days now, and I'm starting to think about spring fishing, and it's time to start talking about some of those summer trends and spring trends and all that. At least to get ourselves excited.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Because if it gets really cold again, I'm going to be extremely depressed. Ready for some more weather. Well, guys, I have an announcement. I've created a Facebook group. We've already had a Facebook page for Eastern Current, but I've got a Facebook group. I want it to be kind of like a community where people can come and, share their catches, ask questions, and talk fishing, with the people that already watch the show. It can be like a way to stay in touch with everybody throughout the week. So if you go on Facebook, it's Eastern Current Fishing as the group, and you'll have to request. It'll be a private group. and you'll be able to join and talk with all the Eastern Current listeners. So
you can share all your spots.
Yeah, share all your spots. You'll be able to
geotag.
You can go up in the ranking on the page if you share your spots with Cameron and I.
Yeah, private messages.
So, but I've been in Florida the past week. I had a fun time down there fishing. But Cameron, you did some fishing while I was gone, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like it. The fish are still fairly schooled up, at least the red drum are. And on those warmer days, man, they were eating really well.
They were eating well. So
yeah, I mean, and I've been on some of the colder days this year.
Yeah.
And you can still find them schooled up, but they can be, one, they can be really skittish, and two, they can just totally shut down and not eat anything. But no, we've had some good days for sure.
They eat pretty good this weekend, like if you were.
They did, yeah. I mean, we had really cold mornings, but then by 10 or so, it was like getting into the 50s. So
right on. We're mostly sight fishing.
Mostly sight fishing.
Sweet.
Yep.
Sweet. Yeah,
I've said this before. I'm really bad at finding trout this time of year.
It's like when you find them, it's game on.
Yeah.
But it takes commitment, and then when you know where there's 5 or 6 schools of redfish, it's hard to not just go target them. So.
Yeah, especially it's after the fall when I feel like all I focus on is trout.
Right.
And then in the winter, man, there's not much that's more fun than fishing a big school of redfish.
No, it's nice. It's like a guilty pleasure almost, if you will.
Yes, it can be.
I've been in Florida the past week, like I was saying, and man, I feel like the older I get, the more I miss being home. Like used to, I didn't want to be in North Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean, I love North Carolina, but I wanted to be traveling and hanging out with people in other states and fishing, and now I'm gone for like 2 days. I'm like, God, I can't wait to get back home. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm married and I've got a wife that I love, but also even just our fishery. Like I've really grown to really love our fishery, and
I agree.
When I'm not there, like studying it and trying to get better at fishing this area, I feel like I'm getting behind.
Well, tell everyone what you were doing down there.
I can't.
You can't?
No, it's top secret.
Oh, it's top secret.
No, I was down there with this group, Live It Films and Pin Fishing. We were doing some filming for a new product that they're releasing. So we had a lot of fun, got to catch some fish. It felt like tournament fishing because it was like we had to get this done. We had to go catch these fish.
Yeah.
And it wasn't it was very relaxed, but it kind of felt like tournament fishing. And I just mostly got to fish. My buddy Adam kind of played guide.
Had to work.
Thing. Yeah, he had to work. He had to work. I got to pull, but I never had to choose.
You were working as well.
Not really.
Just in a different way.
I had to wear this. Never mind. I can't say.
You had to wear a Speedo the whole time?
I had to wear a Speedo the whole time. But yeah, so that's enough talking. Again, you guys, what helps us a ton is if you go and subscribe to any of our, whether it's Instagram or Facebook, that Facebook group I was just talking about, but definitely our iTunes podcast. Go subscribe, like it, and leave us a comment. That would be huge. But definitely, if nothing else, just share this broadcast right now on your Facebook, onto your Facebook page. That helps us a ton. It helps people, find this page, and we're doing all this for free, and it just really helps us to grow our reach, and we would really appreciate it. But enough of me talking. Let me unmute this, make sure it's working here, and bring on Brian. What's going on, Brian?
Hey, man, you got me?
I gotcha. If y'all can't hear him, say we can't hear him here on the live chat, but I think we got you.
That's a good deal. Good to be here.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate
you so much
y'all
for
having
coming on. Definitely.
Yeah, man.
I talked to Todd at New Server Bait and Tackle, and I was like, I need somebody for the show. Tell me a legend, and you were the first name that he dropped. So
yeah, Todd will lie every now and then too.
We all do. We're fishing,
That's right. Right yeah. Let me just hey, while you mention his name, let me just say something, y'all. That dude is a phenomenal guy. He does so much for the community, and through a little old tackle store, and he just put on that Inshore Institute this past weekend.
Yeah.
I was honored to be a part of it, one of the speakers. And let me tell you something. He did something that there was not a dry eye in the place. Now there's over 400 people attending the Inshore Institute, and he called everybody in. Well, they served lunch. Everybody was in the main room eating, and got everybody, all the people outside in their booths and everything, got us all inside. And he introduced a young boy by the name of Isaac. And Isaac has he's 11 years old, I think, or 12 years old, has a severe brain tumor. The doctors have removed as much of it as they can. I think they even got like 99% of it. But anyway, to make a long story short, Isaac had a wish through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and that was it's kind of tough when you talk about it. Is instead of wanting something just for himself, he wanted a pontoon boat for him, his father, mother, and I think 6 brothers and sisters. I think there's 7 of them. So he wanted something, the pontoon boat, so they can get all the family on the boat to enjoy the water and fishing together.
Wow.
But the Make-A-Wish could not grant that because they have a rule that if it's something like a boat, they cannot put more than 20 or 40 horsepower on it. And so they had to decline it. And Todd actually had this Isaac did a little video with him and at his shop. And he's got a GoFundMe account for him. And I think he needed $31,000. And I think there was $13,000 in the account for the Inshore Institute. And I think there was, after he had the family up and everything after lunch, I think they were up to 23,000, 24, wow, maybe more. So for any listeners out there, go to Neuse River Bait and Tackle's Facebook page, find a link. You can go to my Facebook page, find a link on the Victory Fishing Facebook page, and you can, if you want to contribute to making Isaac's dream come true, that would be awesome. But I'm telling you, I cannot toot Todd Willis's horn enough. That cat does so much for the community in the Eastern North Carolina part of our community. So
yeah, that's super cool, man. It's just it's awesome to see the community of fishermen come together like that, and the power that we have as one, and to get something done and to serve a cause or to help out with that kid. I mean, that's just incredible. And yeah, I don't know Todd well. We've talked a few times, but he's always just been such a stand-up guy and super nice. And yeah, that's really cool. So guys, yeah, if y'all can, and I'll share the link too. I'll get the link from you after this, and I'll share it on the Eastern Current page. But that'd be awesome if Eastern Current could contribute, the listeners could contribute, and go help him out and help them get that pontoon boat. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's hear your story, how you got into fishing, and kind of we start every show with that so people can get to know you a little bit. But yeah, how'd you get into fishing, and how'd you get to where you are now?
Well, the crazy thing is, as a kid growing up, my parents' house was on 2 ditches, one on the left side, one on the right side, on the back side of the house, and it came and formed a little, joined together to finish out into another ditch. And that ditch was connected to a creek called Jack Smith's Creek in New Bern that connects to the Neuse River. And as a kid, we used to walk that ditch bank catching everything from brim, bowfin, pike, bass, catfish. I mean, you name it. It's just, we caught it in that ditch.
Yeah.
And we fished a lot of mince, spinner baits and things like that, or just, live. We'd go catch a bunch of minnows and fish with live minnows. We'd catch a brim and anchor down a pole and come, leave it and come back with a great big old pike on it or something like that. I mean, and of course we had to dodge all the cottonmouths and water moccasins and everything else. I mean, we had them falling out of trees on us, and oh man, it was a blast. I wouldn't change it, and it was a great way to get wet behind the ears fishing. I learned a lot fishing that ditch. Then as we got older, as kids, my brother and I, we didn't really do a whole lot of backwater fishing, the Neuse River and thing as a kid because we didn't have a boat or anything. But every October, there was always a massive trout run in New Bern. I mean, it looked like spot fishing down at Moorhead. You could walk across the bow of a boat and all the way across the river. But we used to ride our bicycles down and park them right behind the old Holiday Inn, and we'd fish from the bank and just waylay the puppy drum and the trout. And, that's when we got a little older than that, when my brother was driving, he used to, we'd load up the truck or car, whatever we could get our hands on, and we'd head down to Atlantic Beach and go to the old Iron Steamer Pier. That was our favorite pier to go to. And we'd go down there, plug for Spanish mackerel, bluefish. And and then from there, my brother ended up getting a robalo, 23-foot robalo that we used to fish the SKA, Southern Kingfish Association Tournament Trail, and did really well on that. And we traveled all the way from Biloxi, Mississippi, all the way up, North Carolina fishing tournaments and, qualifying for the nationals what seemed like every year. And then from there, I kind of backed out of fishing. I had kids, and it got to be too much work. And it got to the point where Doug and I would butt heads too much. And I always told him if it ever got to the point where it became too serious and too much like work, I was out. And so Doug, I backed out. Doug hooked up with some other guides and continued his fishing in the SKA. And then he eventually sold his boat. He had a divorce and sold his boat, sold his trailer down at the beach, and ended up getting remarried and had him another child. And so he was boatless and hadn't been doing a lot of fishing. And I started getting into fishing the backwaters of the Neuse River and Pamlico River, and thanks to a good friend of mine, Captain Joe Ward, he kind of took me under his wing and met him at church. And he used to take me fishing, and I owe everything I know about, the inshore fishing in our area from Captain Joe.
That's awesome.
So that's kind of the short of where I am, and been a guide now for 3 years. My father died 4 years ago at Thanksgiving. I was actually cleaning the collards. He and I were going to cook the next day, and when I got the phone call, and my dad used to always get on me about not going to get my captain's license. He's like, you ought to go get them. You catch fish. You know what you're doing. People enjoy fishing with you, blah, blah, blah. He used to just give me a hard time. And I used to tell him, Pops, I'm still a school teacher. I got to go until I can retire so I can have a retirement when I'm done. And I can't do it. But when he died, I couldn't think of a better way to honor my father than to fulfill his wish for me to become a captain and to take people fishing. So that's how I kind of got into get my captain's license and doing all that good stuff, and now guiding. So
that's really cool.
That's a cool story. It's like I guess the fish wanted you to be a guide, or somebody wanted you to be a guide, because you were getting pushed pretty hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pops meant a lot to me, and was glad to get him on the water in October before that November of him dying, and trying to get him on some trout. And he was 89 years old, and he didn't like casting. He wanted to troll, and I said, "Dad, we ain't trolling. You're gonna have to cast." And so he sat on the cooler on the back of the back deck, and he just would cast. he looked at me and said, "I know why I hate this kind of fishing now. It's too much work." So, but I'm just glad he and I were able to have that, that one more trip.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
That's really cool.
For sure. I noticed that you're wearing, and I haven't fished these lures, but the Bad Monkey lures, is that local to New Bern area?
Not the New Bern, Jim Strickland, he's out of Fayetteville.
Out of Fayetteville, okay.
Yep. And, it's crazy. I hooked up with him through a mutual friend, and he's a banker, and he does that he makes baits on the side. And so he makes his own molds. He carves his own molds or baits, and then he makes a mold of them. And then he pours, I guess, epoxy and makes his own, paints them.
Yeah, that's cool.
It is cool. He does a real good job. I really got involved with Bad Monkey because of his topwater baits. I wish I had one right here with me. I didn't bring, like I said, I should have brought some topwater baits, seeing how we're in some warm weather down here in Jacksonville, Florida right now. But I didn't. But his topwater baits are phenomenal, and he's come out. I've been after him now to make some smaller ones. So he finally has made them, and I can't wait to try one of those here real soon and on the top water. But it's a walk the dog style, and he makes some poppers as well. And he does a great job.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I want to get my hands on some of those baits. I've talked to him on Instagram a little bit about his baits, and man, they're just super cool. And the shape, and they look like they would just walk so well.
And he'll make them any color you want, like on this one right here is a yellow with red head, and with the speckled trout spots.
Yeah.
That is a color that I do really well on a 52 in mirror lure.
Okay.
And I showed him the bait. He took a picture of it, and he made me some in the 3.5 and also in his 4.5. But he will paint it any color. But now I'm gonna tell you one cool thing, one bait that's really cool. I don't know if I'm gonna try to get it to the.
Yeah, I can see it. That's perfect.
You can you see the pinfish pattern?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You got the yellow stripes down it with the stripes down the vertical stripes and yellow horizontal with some sparkle in there. That bait right there is a killer spring and summer color, and everything eats it. The trout, the flounder, the rock. They drum. They tear it up, man. They love that thing.
That's awesome. All right, so let's talk a bit about your fishery. You want to get into the? I want to know about where you fish and the fish. You're talking about all these different species, so let's.
In and around New Bern is just phenomenal right now. Of course, everybody's going nuts over the trout.
Right.
The trout are everywhere. And it's like I told somebody today, if you can't go out there and catch a trout in and around New Bern, you need to hire somebody to teach you how to catch a trout. It's anywhere you go, any creek you go up the Trent River, on up the Neuse River, in any creek in and around New Bern on the Neuse they're all loaded with trout. And not only trout, but puppy drum. So everybody's going nuts over the trout right now. Nice trout. It's been a great year. And I attribute that to the fact that we haven't had a cold winter in 2 years now. Or I should say substantial cold winter where you have 2 or 3 weeks of below freezing weather that we get the trout kills. And nobody wants to talk about the drum kills, but it does the same thing to the puppy drums as it does to the trout. So anytime we have those cold winters, it kills our trout population. It kills our drum population as well. But and also the nets are out of the water from the ferry lines upriver. Yeah. So these trout, if they can get past the ferry line, they're home free, and unless they get caught by a wreck fisherman. But there's so many of them out there. It's unbelievable. I've released so many trout this year over 20 inches. It's not in and around New Bern. It's not even funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just such a testament to, what this fishery could be with some proper conservation techniques. You know what I mean? And without the freezes too. I mean, if we can get through this winter without a freeze and go into next fall, I mean,
it could be really.
It's going to be a lot of big fish.
Yeah,
so.
I would think so.
The New River's been pretty fished out. I mean, it fishes a lot like your area, but there's still fish in it. But they've gotten worked over since this fall.
Oh yeah.
Every time we get warm days, I see people posting on social media in your area just crushing it still. So.
Oh yeah, they're still killing it. Yeah. I mean it's but I mean it's I talked with a friend of mine who was fishing Vandermeer last week, and I was talking to him about the nets in there, and he said, man, there were nets. He said he ain't never seen so many nets. He said, but you could fish between the nets and wear the trout out.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. So that's just how thick they are up there, and I mean everywhere. I mean from the Pama. I fished that tournament that I was telling you about earlier on the Pamlico not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before. I think that was February 1st. And, we went up a little creek. I'd never fished it before, and just Googled it. I went on Google Earth, and I was like, man, this just looks too good. And went up there, and man, we first cast, bam, trout. I mean,
awesome.
we had our limits. There was 3 of us on the boat, me and my brother, Doug, and our youth angler, Michael Black, who is from your area, from Wilmington.
Michael Black.
His mom, Charlie Black's his mom.
Okay.
But he's from Wilmington. He's a big time fisherman, big time surfer boy.
Right on.
He's got the surfer boy look, the hair and everything, all tanned up year round. I mean, it's just we give him a hard time. He's getting so tall now, talks with a deep voice and everything, and so we just, our fishing team is the Victory Fishing Team, but we also call AKA No Mercy Team. We like to give each other a hard time, including little Michael Black.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But the trout fish has been good, and the puppy drum has been just real. I cannot wait till the springtime. I am looking so forward to the springtime, and because we have not really had a good trout or drum fishery in New Bern in probably 4 years. I mean, we used to be able to go out there. I do a lot of topwater fishing in the summer for the rock over the stump fields and for puppy drum. And, you got to release them all, of course, at the rock, that is. But it's a blast to watch a rock bust a topwater bait, knock it 5-6 feet up in the air, and then another one knocks it up in the air, and there are like 5 or 6 of them blowing up on it. Man, you don't even have to catch them. You just experiencing that, yeah. And
cool.
It is cool. And then we used to catch a lot of puppy drum on topwater, while we're rock fishing, but it hadn't been there. You might catch 1 or 2 here and there, but it's a rarity. Yeah. But this year, I can't wait for that to take place, for the spring bite, and start slinging those topwater baits predominantly most of the time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What's the biggest trout you've caught in this year?
This year, 24-incher.
Holy moly!
Nice.
Nothing great big this year, and to be quite honest with you, I've caught a many 23, 24-inch trout, but I've only caught 1 citation trout in my life.
Hey.
And it was like 5.76 or something like that. And, I've had citation trout caught on my boat, but I've never caught but that 1 citation trout. So
that's the way it goes, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I have been trying for one for so long and hadn't caught a single citation until this year, and then I ended up catching a couple this year. And everyone I've ever talked to said once you break the seal, it's easier. Like once you get into, I don't know. I think I just got really lucky, but
Yeah, well, the seal, I broke that seal, 3 years
that's
ago?
true. That's true.
And I haven't had another one. I've had several. I caught one that in that last tournament. It was, it looked like it was going to be 25, 26 incher. And I was just, man, the pucker factor was high. And I was like, I can't lose this one. I can't. And she came up waddling, and my brother's yelling, get her down. I said, I'm trying. When we knew it was a pig of a fish. And got her in the boat, and I looked down. I was like, "Oh my God, that's a 25 incher, baby!" I got me a citation right here, another citation, and we put her up on the measuring stick, 22 and a half. But
You
she
sound
was
like me. Everything's way bigger than it. And then when I measure it, I'm like, wait I need to stop measuring these fish.
Yeah. It's so funny. I can, you get these people on, on charters, and they, you net up fish, throw them up on the deck, and get, take the hooks out and everything. So yeah, that's an 18 incher. And they say, no, that thing ain't but 16 and a half. I'm like, dude, it's 18 inches. And they're like, no, I said, all right. So I pull my measuring stick out, put it up there, squeeze the tail. There it is, right at 18 inches. I'm like, man, how do you know? I said, I've seen enough, 16, 18, 20 inch trout. I know what they are, but when they get bigger than that, I get confused.
Me too. Me too. Well, here's a question I kind of had for you. So with that, the Pamlico and the new, all the river systems up there, they're so big. When you go out on a day of fishing, and it might change, it's definitely going to change depending upon the weather. Are you picking a creek that you're going to be like, all right, I'm fishing this creek today, or I'm fishing these two? Or are you kind of going out there and trying to fish a lot of different creeks? Like, you're trying to cover a lot of water, or pick one spot apart real hard?
I'm going generally, if it's just, let's say me and my brother, we're going to go out and do some fishing and just try to get the lay of the land of where the fish are and everything, we might cover a lot of water. Okay. But if I'm like trying to do some fishing prior to a charter, and I'm going to try and nail it down to 2 or 3 areas that are tight together, because I don't want to waste people's time running from spot to spot to spot and what have you. I'd rather get to a creek, put them on, put the trolling motor over, and let's go to catching. And it don't always work that way. There's days where they were there a couple of days ago, they're not there today, or if they're there, they're just not chewing. So I got to jump over to another creek. But it's in the wintertime when it gets cold, even though it has not been cold, and I'll be honest with you, it's been a weird winter. I haven't fished my normal winter pattern this year like I normally have to, go way up creeks and fish, 10, 15, 20-foot water, downsize my jigs and my baits. I've been fishing in water can be anywhere from 3 feet to 10 feet.
Yeah.
And just doing really well with the trout.
That's awesome. What's y'all's water temperature at right now?
I have not been on the noose in 2 weeks. Because I fished the Pamlico 2 weeks ago and then did not fish this past weekend because of the Inshore Institute. But the last time I was on the water, it was 56 degrees. Wow. But prior to that, like 2 days prior to that, it was 52.
Okay.
So in a matter of a couple of days, it's been fluctuating. Last week, I can only imagine with the sunshine we had and the warm temperatures in the 70s, I can only imagine it was probably up in the upper, mid to upper 50s.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's been pretty consistent in the 50s.
Yeah. Hey, well, since we're kind of just going over your fishery as a whole and not really picking apart one type of year, could you just go over like the best times of year for if someone's going to go up there and target redfish or trout or striper? Are there best times of year for those fish in that area?
Oh yeah. If I'm going trout fishing, generally the best time of the year is going to be late September, October through through probably the summertime when these fish start, yeah, when the fish start pulling out of the creeks and heading towards the sound to spawn. So, but then you could go to the sound and really do really well with the trout. The reality with all of our fish, you can catch them year round, including the flounder in and around Newbern. It's crazy. But I mean, if I'm going to go target, if I was to have to pick a time, it would be the fall for the trout as they're coming up the river and getting into the creeks. For stripers, my gosh, I really am going to say year round for them. I mean, it's just the only February, March, unless you run way up the noose, you're going to struggle with catching the nicer rock. But if you'll catch a lot of bucks, a lot of what we call schoolies, 15, 16, 17-inch fish that aren't participating in the spawn. But your bigger 20s and up to 30 inchers are gone up the river all the way on to Raleigh to spawn. So, February, March, even into April, you kind of lose those fish. But I mean, the rock in the fall, I mean, it's just a great bite. Winter up through December, January, fishing the deep water, and they're fat. I mean, they are feeding, getting ready to go up to spawn, and it's a great tug.
That's awesome.
And then the summertime, people. There's some people that don't like you to catch rock in the summertime because the water temperature's higher and they don't do as well. It's like I told the people at the Inshore Institute this past weekend. There's nothing wrong with catching rock on top water in the summertime off the stump fields. It's a blast, but go ahead and tighten it. Number one, you better tighten down your drag because they're going to take you down into stumps and break you off. Number two, it allows you to get them to the boat quicker.
Yeah.
And then, if it's a pig, if it's a 25 inch or bigger up in the 30-inch range, get a quick picture and then release it gently. You don't just chunk her back in the water. Get her in there, grab her by her tail. You don't have to go back and forth with it. I ain't never figured that one out. Just let her, put her upright. Maybe just get her, moving and let that water start. You'll see those bubbles. It's kind of like releasing an old drum.
Right.
Just let it get its bearings back and its, its breath back and release it. And when it starts moving on its own, it feels good and strong. Release that fish, and I'll guarantee you most of them will survive unless you swallows it down in the gills, and then you just there ain't nothing you can do about that. That happens.
Yeah.
I hate to see that happen because but the rock fishery in the summertime is phenomenal. So other than February, March, and into April for the rock. It's any time is good on those. Flounder, summertime, July, August, September into October, it is phenomenal. I had a trip. Lady caught her first citation flounder this year in New Bern, 5.5 pounder, 24 incher. We were catching a bunch of little ones. And off this point, and bam, she hooked up. I actually hooked up with it and handed it off to her. And she got the citation. So anyway, flounder. but like I said, I mean, even trout fishing in off the ledges and off some flats. I've caught flounder this past December. I caught some in January. Heck, one of the biggest flounders I ever caught on the noose I caught him in February on the MR52.
Really?
Fishing boat slips, a finger off the Goose Creek where a sailboat was moored and there was a dock there, and I just threw it up in there and bam, she came off of it and nailed it. And, so you catch them anytime, man. It's a great, ain't no telling what you're going to catch when fish around New Bern. And then your puppy drum, again, springtime, summer, and fall is good puppy drum. Had a trip December, and we caught a potload of puppy drum wild trout fishing. So up the Trent River.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, yeah, it is. So,
y'all salinity level. The story I've heard from that is like you just haven't had much rain. None of us have had much rain, so the salt waters come way up there, and that's why those fish are in there. Apparently.
Well, the trout have been coming up there for years, other than the last 2 or 3 years. The Trent River, this has been found out in this past year. I mean, again, there was 100. You catch a trout, there'd be 20 boats around. Next thing you know, there's half of them were on top of you, and I get it, no problem, but it's they've been coming up the Trent River for some time. And I think it's like the thermocline. It's not that the salinity level is good on the upper half of the water, but the bottom half of the water, it's a better salinity level.
Okay.
And these trout are just staying down in that water. But I kind of been doing some research a little bit on the trout here lately, reading some stuff, and there's a lot of reports out there that trout are just like all of these inshore fish can adapt towards a more fresh water.
Oh yeah.
They don't have to have a high salinity level, even though they might come from the ocean and work their way up through the Pamlico Sound or the ICW, Adams Creek, and work their way up. They are able to adapt and be able to survive in that fresher water of in and around New Bern.
So do you think these fish are migrating? Like, I know it's hard to really put your finger on it, but do you think they're migrating in all from the ocean, or do you think a good number of them are fish that are living in the Pamlico Sound in the summer and then migrating up the river?
I think a lot of fish are coming in off the Pamlico Sound.
Okay.
I think we have some coming in from the ocean as well. So I think it's a mixture of both. Yeah. Gosh, I can't remember his name. They call him the trout doctor. He been studying trout for like the last 10 years. Tim somebody.
Okay.
But anyway, he spoke at the Inshore Institute this past weekend, and he, in doing some tagging, they tagged some fish in the Neuse River, and then that fish gets caught 2 weeks later in Chesapeake Bay.
What?
In 2 weeks?
In 2 weeks.
Oh my gosh!
Holy moly!
I think the trout are very migratory. They migrate a whole lot.
Oh yeah.
I can say the word in my head. I can't get it out.
I have that issue quite often.
But yeah, I think they migrate a lot. We had trout on the Neuse this summer. I caught a lot with trips this summer, and thank God, because the rock bite was horrible this past summer. But the trout and the flounder and the drum were good up here. So I think we have some fish that live here for a certain time, and then they leave when they get a certain size. Maybe I don't know. I don't know how to truly answer that, other than I think it's a mixture.
Yeah, no, I was just curious to what you thought about that.
I'm always curious about that because it's like you would think with how many trout at least are here in the fall that there would still be a ton here in the summer.
Yeah.
And I very rarely catch trout here in the summer. I mean, I'm not targeting them that much, but it's almost like they just disappear.
I agree with you. It's tough. Like the trout that I do catch in the summer here, you got to go fish for them in the morning. Like the first hour of sunrise, and then it's pretty much done. I mean, I had some good days of trout fishing, but never big numbers in the summer. Do y'all see that trend as well? Like, will you catch trout throughout the day in the summertime, or is it more of a morning and evening bite?
Well, you know what? This past summer, it was all day.
It was all day.
Yeah, especially towards the sound. Now, in and around Newbern, I mean, I do a half day charter in the morning and catch them in the morning, and then I'd have a half day charter in the afternoon, go back there, and as soon as I get back to that location where I had been on, they were still there.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
it's I think with the river system, y'all were down there, y'all get such a movement of water with your tides.
Right.
And the Neuse River, we don't get a movement unless the wind is honking out of the west. It'll blow it out. If it's blowing out of the east, it'll blow it in. So, but I think our fish, just once they get into that area, especially in the summertime, they kind of hang around. And if we get a lot of bait.
Yeah.
So the food source, is there. I mean, it's, pogies everywhere, sprat. I call them sprat, the little small pogies. And the rock are feeding on, the trout are feeding on, the drum are feeding on, and then plus the mullet. You get schools of mullet coming through there too. So
yeah, they got no reason to leave.
They got no reason to leave.
Yeah, I see the fishery the New River is what I always compare to anything when I'm ever talking to someone about the Pamlico, because it's like the most relatable fishery we have down here, and they catch trout pretty consistently throughout the summer on that river, and it fishes and yeah, there's guys that catch trout here pretty well in the summer too and keep their mouths pretty shut about it, but
isn't that funny? Guys are hush mouth about a trout now. I'm gonna tell you.
I know. It's like I'd rather honestly share my place where redfish like to tail and belly crawl than like where I feel like I can go catch a 25-inch trout. Yeah,
right. Yeah. It's something about those specs.
Something about it. Sorry, I keep clearing my throat and coughing. It's going to be fun to listen back to this one. But
it's all good.
We still have a little bit of time. We're at 50 minutes almost right now. It's crazy how quickly it flies by. But I wanted to talk to you about, so you've got so many fish up there. Can you go throughout your day kind of catching, all right, I'm struggling here. Are you fishing different areas for those different fish, or can you go catch a redfish one cast, a trout one cast, and then a rockfish the next cast?
They're mixed all together.
Okay, well, in that case, give me like some of your favorite baits to throw that, you can cross over and catch, you feel confident catching different species on.
Well, of course, I've showed you the bad monkey baits. I use them.
He's got suspending baits too, though, right?
That's what that is.
That is a suspending. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, that is a suspended bait. And like I said, he does different colors. Here's the 808. You tell him a color you want it painted, and he will paint it. And he even has the bigger suspended bait.
Oh, I like that one.
And this has been the killer color for me, purple and chartreuse. That bait has really, and in that size, that 4.5 inch has been really good. I throw with Whack 'em and Stack 'em custom baits, and you're gonna go, what the heck is that? But here's what we call the belly buster. This is actually a bass lure, and I saw it on Whack 'em and Stack 'em's page, And I'm like, dude, you got to make me some of those for my. I mean, he could do it any color.
That's awesome.
There's a chartreuse with some blue flake in it. He does pink ice. I mean, this is his jerk shad. One of my favorites, if the water is clear, I'm throwing this is called bluegrass, but it's blue chartreuse. I mean, but this color, I'm going to pick up this color. That has been the color this purple. This is called purple shimmy. I actually,
like that name.
I actually
wish
came up
it
with
was my job was naming bait colors.
Well, I'm the one who named this color because I had him to make this color for me. Hey, Barb, can you bring me my phone? Angelo, the owner of the company, he used to make these and then in the color I want and then dip it in chartreuse for me.
Oh, cool.
But the chartreuse has worn off on that one right there. And I told him he's finally got where he can inject the color and then a chartreuse tail and not have to dip it. And I want to show. I hope that you can see this. This is. He just sent me this picture tonight.
Hold it up a little bit higher. Sorry, a little lower. It was good. It was good. Ooh,
oh man,
those look sweet. That's a nice bright chartreuse too.
Yeah. So that has been our go-to color, purple, for some reason for the last 2 years, for the trout, for the flounder, and puppy drum. And this is no lie. I've also fished the voodoo shrimps under popping cork.
Yeah,
I love the voodoo shrimp. It's got a great action that jointed tail that it has. But this purple shimmy color under a popping cork in the belly buster has outfished the voodoo shrimp on numerous occasions. And there's been days that's the only thing I could get the trout to hit.
Really?
Was the purple shimmy in the belly buster with the chartreuse tail.
The belly buster.
So, yeah, it's a great bait. MRs, I use mirror lures too.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I had Jim from Bad Monkey Baits and his son came down, brought their boat down from Fayetteville one morning, and we went fishing. We were actually going to try to shoot a show, and it was just so cold that the batteries to my cameras all died. I mean, they were dead.
Gosh.
I mean, it was like 28 degrees when we put the boat over, and so the batteries just couldn't take it. They kaput. But
which means it was going to be a killer fishing day, though.
Yeah,
exactly, man. I mean, we did. It started off a little slow.
I bet with it being 28 degrees when you put the boat in the water.
Yeah, and then we finally got on a school of trout and moved around a little bit, got on another school of trout, and ended up being a great day. We were up the Trent River. But when I got on the boat with them, I was throwing. Here I am on the boat with Jim, the owner and his son of Bad Monkey, and what am I throwing? An MR18. And I did that on purpose.
Was he mad at you, or did he forgive you?
No. And I told him, I said, guys, we're going to see which one outfishes which one. I said, we're going to put a test. And now there was 3 of them fishing the Bad Monkeys because they had a friend with them too. And anyway, long story short, they were spanking my butt.
Were they?
They were. And so I said, you know what? I went in my tackle box. Jim's like, I got plenty of them up there. Go get. I said, no what? I said, I know a man, and he has sent me some baits. I'm going to get my own. And I went and got that purple back chartreuse belly, and I went to hammering them. And so, yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool to, and the son, I was making some comments. I was like, man, I can't believe they're not hitting this MR18. He's like, well, if you put a Bad Monkey on, you might catch something. I went, I hear you. I'm getting there. So it was pretty cool I wish we could have got that on video and made a show.
For sure.
That would have been cool.
Hey, on those Bad Monkey hard baits, the suspending ones, we had a guy on from Texas last week that walks the dog with them under the water. How are you working those Bad Monkey baits?
I just, they're slow sinking, so I'm going to let them sink this time of the year, and then I'm just going to, just give it a good little pop. I might go pop. I mean, like I told the people at the industry, I'm going to let the fish tell me what they want.
So you working more like an MR17?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. But there's times where I let that thing sink all the way down, and then that's where they want it, on the bottom, because it'll sit there just like this, and just when it falls, and it's got such an amazing wobble when it falls. They
can't resist.
So I let the fish tell me how to work it. Sometimes they might, like I said, let it go all the way down and give it a couple little up pops, or I'm going to twitch, let it sink, twitch, let it sink. I might just give it a good little pull, because it tends to move a little bit like you're talking about, walk the dog. When you slow reel it, it literally just goes back and forth.
That's cool.
That's one way I've never really retrieved a hard bait of that style. It's just a straight roll or a slow roll kind of deal. But when I do reel it in slow, it looks good. I mean, I feel like they would eat it really well. I need to try that. They do?
They will.
They will?
They will. I'm telling you, they will.
Now I got confidence in
it. There's some, I've been up many a creek when the old timers come by you. And they're going to have corks out, and they're going to be tooting along with their trolling motor. And under those corks are 17s, 18s, or 52s, or some kind of hard bait. Might have a little, little X-wrap like that underneath the. That one's been abused, son. That little white one.
I couldn't even tell you that was a white one. Okay.
It was white, and it has. If you could see the scratches on this thing, it's had it, but they still hit it. And I'm telling you, here's a bait I wish Rapala would still make. They do
that
make
bait's awesome.
Bait but they don't do it with the lip anymore.
Yeah, it's like a twitch bait without a lip now. It looks like a Rapala Mirror.
Yeah, and so, but that's what I actually caught my citation trout on, is that one with the lip. And awesome. But that I've had that bait a long time. It's all chewed up. I like a lot of white as well in our tannic water. Again, if in the wintertime when it clears up some, I'll go to my brighter colors, my pinks and my blue chartreuse. Yeah, I mean, swim bait worked 2 weekends ago in that tournament.
Like a soft plastic swim bait on a jig head?
Yep.
That's one bait that so many people call it different things, swim baits. Somebody might be talking about a big bass swim bait, other people talking about soft plastic swim bait.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Is that made by Whack'em and Stack'em as well?
That's a Whack'em and Stack'em. Okay. Yep. I got it on a Sea Striker jig head. Nothing fancy. And I tell you too, though, turning this bait upside down, I'll turn it upside down sometimes so that the tail's actually like this.
Okay.
And it gives it more swim. But I'm going to tell you what, that tail, that's one of the softest tails. Now, I will tell you, a bad thing about this bait is when it gets hit on the tail a few times,
it's gone.
A lot of times it'll break.
Well, then you got a jerk bait, or you got a like a jerk shad.
You're absolutely right, and I've done that and caught fish that way. But if they're hitting a swim bait, it's a swim bait. It's a piece of plastic. I'll get another one and put it on. There's a lot to be said about these professional bass fishermen. I love shoot, I can't even remember the name of the show. It's where there's like a group of them fishing, Major League Fishing.
Major League Fishing, yeah.
Oh my God, I love
It's fun to
watching
watch.
that.
It adds a whole
is,
new
man.
element to tournament fishing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And but you watch those guys, man, and they catch a fish on a. They might catch one, they might catch two, but most time when they catch one, they're taking the soft plastic off and throwing it away and getting a fresh one.
Yeah.
They're not going to. I'm bad about.
Fishing
I'll
as
bite
long
it.
as you
Yeah.
can.
I'll bite the end of it off until it's a nub and
Right.
But I'm kind of.
I would probably get like they were if there was
a lot of money on the line.
$100,000 on the line.
No doubt, and plus they don't. Those pro guys.
They're not paying for it. Yeah.
They ain't paying for nothing.
Yeah, on my trips, I'm sorry if you ever book a trip with me, but if you get a little nick in your soft plastic, you're gonna have to keep fishing it for a little while.
That's exactly right. Just bite the end of it off.
Bite the end of it off and keep going.
Brian, I got one more question for you. Is there a name for if you catch a rockfish, a flounder, a trout, and a red drum in one day?
Oh boy, somebody's trying to make fun of me because in all my posts, if we do that, that's the Neuse River Grand Slam, man.
The Neuse River Grand Slam, I like it.
If you catch all four species, that's the Grand Slam. If you catch 3 of the 4, it's a slam.
Nice.
But yeah, did somebody send that question in?
No one sent that in. Did someone send
come on.
I just thought about it.
I'm looking through it. No one sent it in.
Because I was going to say, if there's not a name for it, we should come up with one right now.
Yeah, I call it the Neuse. If I'm on the Neuse River fishing, I call it the Neuse River Grand Slam. If I'm on the Pamlico, I'll call it the Pamlico Grand Slam.
Gotcha. Man, I wish we could get a Grand Slam. What would our Grand Slam be?
I think our Grand Slam has got to be
what is
redfish,
y'all
trout,
slam?
Flounder.
It would be redfish, trout, flounders our slam, but our Grand Slam you'd have to incorporate.
Y'all don't have
black
rock.
drum. That's boring. I like the. Well, you could do that. You could do
lizard
the
fish.
Cape Fear Grand Slam because you could get those 4 in the Cape Fear.
Yeah.
Speckled trout.
Yeah,
redfish,
the
flounder,
rock. Yeah,
and the rockfish. Yeah.
So,
I heard the rockfish has been a little tough on the Cape Fear this year.
Yeah, Florence hurt us. They killed a lot of fish. So.
I think the same thing happened to us. That's why we had a bad year this past year.
Yeah.
And then we got I can't even remember the name of the last storm we had last year. It sucked all the water out of the river. I mean, you could almost there was hardly any water in the Neuse River. So I think that the rock were sucked down river, and they just finally having to start to migrate back this fall.
Yeah.
Oh well, I got a good grand slam for us.
Let's hear it.
It would be red drum, flounder, trout, and a sheep's head.
Sheep's head, I like that.
Oh yeah,
that one. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
We gotta come up with a good name for it though.
Yeah, we'll announce that name at the next one, at the next show. Well, Brian, tell people if they want to book a trip with you or pick your brain or get up with Bad Monkey Lures or Whack 'em Stack 'em or anything like that. How can people reach out and get a hold of you?
Well, I got a Instagram page is Victory Fishing Show. My Facebook page is Victory Fishing, and then I personally have a Facebook page, or they can call me at 252-626-6006.
Sweet.
Or they can go to Victory Fishing at suddenlink.net.
Got it.
That's my email. They can email me any questions or anything. And look, I don't mind sharing information with people. I'm one of those guys that don't believe there's any really true secrets out there. You think you've got a secret hole, and next thing you know, you look there and there's 10 boats in it. So
you can have a secret, but it's for how long can you have that?
How long can it last? Because all it takes is one person
exactly
to see you catch fish there, and next thing you know, he's calling all of his buddies, and all of his buddies are calling their buddies, and it's out.
I live by the belief that everybody at least tells one person about it. So,
oh, sure.
And probably more than that, because I tell about 4 people most stuff.
Well, yeah, we got a network of guides here in New Bern that I network with and around New Bern, and it's I'm a firm believer in that. There's some guides that don't want the network, and I'm down with that. There's no problem with that.
I think we're better. We're stronger together than apart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't view myself in competition with anybody.
Right.
I'm just as happy if Captain Joe Ward gets a charter, or Captain Ashley King has a charter, and Kevin Dewar and James Holloway and MJ Miller. I'm just happy that people are booking trips.
Right.
And I'll get a bone thrown my way, and I'm part time right now. I've got 3 more years of teaching, and when I retire in 3 years, I'll be at it full time and
awesome.
Really pushing it hard. I'm doing all I want to do right now, and I don't even really promote it. I don't even,
Yeah.
Every now and then I might say, hey, if you want to go fishing and get on some of these fish, give me a call, book a trip. Most of the time, I just post my posts and don't even say anything about the charter. I mean, my days are limited, and but I have some open days coming up, and
cool.
I tell you, a cool thing that's getting ready to happen, and they're already moving upriver, is the shad.
Oh yeah, I knew you were going to say the shad.
I've
got the itch right now for the shad.
I'm telling you what, I have gotten pro staff with TFO, and I got me 4 ultralight panfish rods.
There you go.
With Ardent 1000 bolt reels on them, and I am dying. I've been actually catching some trout on them. Catch a 23-inch trout on an ultralight rod. Oh my gosh, son! 1000 reel and an ultralight rod. It is.
You better be careful, because that's when you're going to hook your 28-incher.
Oh, I know.
Rod in your hand.
I had it I carried it to fish it with it in the tournament, and I just could not bring myself to do it, because I said, that's what's going to happen. I'll hook up with a pig, and I'll end up losing it because it's on that ultralight rod.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming and doing the show with us, man. We'll have to get on the water together sometime. Maybe us 3 go do some fishing down here, up there. We'll make something happen.
Love to. Hey, y'all were friends with my family up that way, by the way.
Oh, who's that?
Jot.
Oh, yeah, Jot. Yeah, Jot's a good buddy. I forgot you're his cousin?
We're third cousins.
Third cousins. Okay.
His dad is my first cousin, so I guess that makes him my third cousin. I don't know what that makes him. Second cousin. Who knows? One of them cousins.
He's somebody's cousin somewhere.
Somebody's.
Right.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much, man. And thank y'all for listening. This has been a great show, and an hour is just typically not enough. It flies by, especially when you got good conversation.
It's amazing. Holy cow.
But guys, like I said, our Facebook group, you can go join that, or ask to join it. I'll immediately let you in if you're cool enough. And I'm just kidding. Everybody's allowed. But it'll be just a cool community for us to talk fishing and ask questions, share information. It'll be nice. So head on over Eastern Current Fishing on Facebook. Brian, thanks again, and we look forward to talking to you again. And guys, thanks for tuning in to episode 33 of Eastern Current.
Thanks for having me on, guys. This has been a blast. Definitely.
And we'll see y'all next week. Later.